Chapter 3. The next Garnet Warrior. News stations in New Orleans broadcasted urgent alerts, filling the airwaves with the story of Valentina's murder and the kidnapping of her baby son. Reporters' voices shook as they described how the infant was taken from his mother's arms in a violent struggle that shattered the city's sense of safety. TV screens showed yellow tape around a broken doorway, neighbors gathered in shock, and police searching for evidence as helicopters circled above. In a crumbling, graffiti-scarred home near the outskirts of Alexandria, the drama played out in flickering blue light on an ancient television. The walls were stained with mildew, the floor scattered with broken glass and cigarette butts. Here, two figures watched the coverage. Alexandria, infamous for her cruel reputation, pressed her claws to her lips as a cold wave of regret and dread washed over her. Each word from the news anchor felt like a hammer, driving home the horror of what she'd done. The infant, once just a target, now felt like a living weight in her arms, a symbol of innocence lost and a future hanging in the balance. The reality of what they had set in motion pressed down on her chest, making it hard to breathe. "What are we going to do about our little problem?" Alexandria finally asked, her voice raw, a tremor of fear and anger running through every syllable. She paced the debris-strewn floor, glancing back at Coco, who cradled the sleeping baby in a threadbare blanket. The unspoken tension in the air was suffocating, thick as the dust motes swirling in the faint, flickering light. Every second that passed seemed to amplify the urgency of their predicament, the infant's soft breaths the only fragile counterpoint to their growing panic. "You should have finished the job a long time ago," Coco said, her voice sharp. She sat on a battered kitchen chair, eyes narrowed, looking every bit the ruthless mastermind. She rocked the baby without thinking, but her stare at Alexandria was cold, her patience nearly gone from fear and frustration. She had no sympathy to offer tonight. "What was I supposed to do?" Alexandria replied, her voice tense with panic and resentment. She waved her hands, and the baby's soft whimpers almost grew louder. "You don't know who that child really is. If you did, you wouldn't have agreed to this. When you brought me in, you made me part of your problem." The thin, peeling walls seemed to close in, and the flickering bulb cast strange shadows on their faces. Dust floated in the heavy air, each breath filled with dread. "Do you ever think about what you're getting into before you agree? Or do you just take the job and hope it's not suicide?" The accusation hit hard, and their partnership was suddenly divided by mistrust and blame. Coco, sitting in the shadows, gripped the baby tightly. Her jaw clenched and her eyes showed both anger and fear. The only sounds were the baby's quiet breathing and a distant police siren, reminding them how close danger was. "My mess," Coco said, her voice sharp. "You don't know what you've done, Alexandria. This wasn't just a job. It was a favor for an ally who said it would be simple. Kill the Cambion before he becomes a threat. You have a reputation for handling infants. Let's not pretend otherwise. That's why I called you. You handle these situations. So why is this job different? What about this baby scares you so much?" Her words lingered, the threat of betrayal making their trust even weaker. "Do you want to know why I didn't harm that Cambion?" Alexandria asked, her voice suddenly softer and more vulnerable. She looked down at the sleeping child, her hands shaking as she touched his small fist. For a moment, her tough exterior faded, showing doubt and a hint of compassion. "I don't know," Coco replied, her words sarcastic but desperate. "Did you eat before the job? Is that it?" Her sharp comment tried to hide her growing anxiety. She fidgeted with the baby's blanket, showing the tension she tried to hide. "No," Alexandria said sharply, her eyes full of defiance. "It's because I sensed something in him, something you missed. There's a power in that child, a presence. I don't know if it's his bloodline or something else, but he's different from the others." Her voice broke, and her words hung in the silence. "Do you really think so little of me?" Coco asked, her voice sharp and hurt. The candle between them flickered, casting uneven shadows on her face. Before the accusation could settle, Alabasandria spoke, her voice low and intense. "No, you fool! That baby is the heir to the demon throne, a king's grandchild. If anyone knew I had harmed him, I'd be dead by morning. This isn't just another job, it's a death sentence. We're both in over our heads." The truth was clear, and the stakes had never been higher. "If that's true, why didn't anyone tell me?" Coco demanded, her eyes wide with disbelief and fear. The room seemed to shrink, silence growing heavier with each passing second. Only the baby's slow breathing and the soft rustle of his blanket broke the stillness as Coco held him close. Their unspoken fears crowded in, making it clear their situation was even worse than they thought. "How should I know?" "That's your ally's responsibility," Alabasandria snapped, her fists clenched until her knuckles turned white. "Face it, Coco, they set you up. Your orders were a death sentence from the start. We need to get this baby back to his mother, if she were still alive." Her voice was urgent, the seriousness of their situation growing with every second. The baby stirred and whimpered in his sleep, as if he could feel the tension in the room. "Shush! You'll wake the baby," Coco snapped, her sarcasm fading under the pressure. She glanced down at the infant, holding him tighter as his small fist gripped her shirt. His peaceful face stood out against the fear and anger filling the room. For a moment, Coco's guard dropped, showing a hint of protectiveness she couldn't hide. "We're not babysitters," Alabasandria said, her voice serious, "especially not for a cambion. The longer we keep him, the more danger we're in. We need to find someone who can protect him, someone who understands what he is. If we don't, it's not just us in danger. He is too." Her urgent tone made it clear they were running out of time. "So who do you have in mind?" Coco asked, her voice sharp with both doubt and worry. She watched Alabasandria, hoping for any hint of a plan. The room seemed frozen, tension thick, as they considered their limited choices. "I'm not here to solve your problems," Alabasandria said, her words short and her eyes showing her frustration. "But you must know someone desperate or brave enough to take in a half-demon, half-human child, someone with no ties, no fear of what's ahead." She looked out the window as if hoping to find an answer in the night. Coco paused, frowning as she looked at the sleeping baby. The silence was broken only by the quiet hum of traffic and the baby's gentle breathing. "What about a church?" she finally asked, her voice uncertain but hopeful. "He might be safe there. They help the lost, right? Maybe they'd take him in." The idea lingered, a small hope amid their growing trouble. "You need to take this more seriously," Alabasandria snapped, her voice tight with urgency and fear. Candlelight threw wild shadows on the peeling wallpaper, highlighting the sweat on her brow and her clenched fists. She paced the floor, boots thudding as she exhaled shakily. "I'm not risking my life for one of your reckless ideas. Think, Coco, why would we take a Cambion baby to a church? We're from the demon realm. Even entering a church is dangerous for us, and giving a royal heir to mortals who would see him as an abomination is even worse." Her eyes narrowed, gold flashing with frustration, showing the growing divide between them. Coco stood firm, lifting her chin with quiet determination. She glanced from the sleeping baby to Alabasandria, hope flickering in her eyes. "That's the point. No one would look for a Cambion in a church. He's half-human, so he could blend in and be protected by people who would never suspect the truth." Her words lingered, her optimism trying to break through the tension around them. Alabasandria's eyes blazed. "You're out of your mind if you think I'd just hand this child over to a church of God." She shook her head, black hair falling over one shoulder, her jaw set with determination. "He's not some lost orphan. He's the heir to the demon throne, a prince by blood. Do you know what the mortals would do if they found out what he really is? They'd torment him, lock him away, or worse. I won't be part of that. I want nothing to do with this prince. He's not my responsibility, and I refuse to send him to a life of misery, pretending to be a sanctuary." Her words rang with conviction, each one breaking the silence. Coco's eyes softened, and her posture relaxed as she took in Alabasandria's pain. For a moment, empathy showed on her face. "What if we don't go to the church of their god?" she said, her voice gentle, offering calm in the tense moment. "We could take him to the church of Satan. That's our world, our beliefs. He's part demon. He'd be accepted there, maybe even respected. It might be his only real chance at safety, and it could free you from the guilt that's weighing on you." The hope in her eyes was fragile, but bright, a reminder that they might still find a way out together. Alabasandria paused as Coco's words sank in, and the anger faded from her face. Relief eased the knot of dread in her stomach. "You know what? That might actually work," she said, her voice showing cautious hope. "The Church of Satan. There are others from the demon realm there, people who can protect him and understand what he is and what's at stake. Maybe there he'll have a future, and will finally be free of this nightmare."